The San Jose Sharks continue their road woes with a 3-0 loss to the Boston Bruins. We're going to chat about that. Look at some crazy stats, splits between the Sharks' home and road games, and check in on Bordeleau and Gushchin and how they're looking so far since they've been sent back to the AHL. So all that and more today's episode.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is Tank Commander JD Young, a contributor at San Jose Hockey Now, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Probably part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day, and if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to talk about another pitiful road performance. Going to look at some crazy stats between the Sharks home and road splits, and look at what the numbers said for this game. And the numbers were not pretty. And then check in with Bordeleau and Gushchin and kind of see how those guys are doing since they got sent back from the Sharks. And it's starting. They're both starting to kind of find their games again. So before we get into everything, I do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you guys by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And I know these Sharks do play the Devils on Friday night. You can catch every hit, shot, and goal from the Hometown Sharks broadcast with the SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Sharks. So this game started, you had some hope. Sharks first 5 to 10 minutes really took it to the Bruins. Were out shooting them, out chancing them. Really kind of had their legs under them. And then this game got really chippy. And the Bruins kind of did what you would expect the Bruins to do. And that's just kind of put down a bad team. But it's really interesting kind of the chippiness of this game. I mean, we had multiple fights in this game. The Sharks had a 5-on-3 power play. There was, the Sharks had 5 power play opportunities in this game. We had some 4-on-4 time, just a lot of penalties in this game, and a lot of chippiness for two teams that do not see each other very often. Like we do, the Sharks and Bruins are finished playing for the season. The Sharks won't see the Bruins again until the 24-25 season. But this game, for some reason, had a lot of chippiness. And Brad Marchand, who's, he's the everybody hates him unless he's on your team guy. And, he just kind of gets under guys' skins and makes them do dumb things. And, I think you can kind of point to Giovanni Smith not making some of the smartest decisions, right? There was the big kerfluffle near the end of the end of the second period where he boarded Marchand. Let's be honest, it was just a straight board. And then there was a fight later. It's just, and again, I know that's Giovanni Smith's role, but it's just Brad Marchand makes you do crazy things, right? Even at the end of the first period, Marchand and Smith are coming back on the ice and yapping with each other. He just gets you out of your headspace. But Sharks overall just did not look clean, especially from the second period on, where it just everything looked hard for them again, which is what we have seen from the Sharks kind of this year. Is just how hard things have looked for them. And we'll get into kind of home and away numbers here in a little bit, but that's just the big takeaway right now. It's hard for them to kind of be consistent. And Good news is they got Tomas Hertl back. Apparently, he had a kidney stone and had to have surgery on emergency surgery on Monday. And was played tonight, which is kind of crazy. If you've ever had a kidney stone, it is not a pleasant experience. I had one, I think, May 2020, and it was one of the most painful things in my life. That whole day, luckily, I didn't need surgery or anything like that. But it's just, like the fact that he's playing later this week is pretty crazy. He played like 22 minutes tonight too, which is yeah, their hockey players are just different dudes. Yeah, Tomas Hertl played 20 dude, wrong page, sorry. Tomas Hertl did play 22:08 tonight. He was second among forwards behind Mikael Granlund when it came to ice time. So, yeah, you're a better person than me, Tomas Hertl. Hats off to you, buddy. That's crazy. So, but just overall, like it's just the flow of the Sharks and just the very choppy game, and I think that kind of, as weirdly as it sounds, I think it kind of favor the Bruins, right? Especially a Bruins team. Yes, they, some new pieces and some major subtractions, but a lot of those guys have kind of been there and they just have that chemistry and they can kind of put together chunks of the game where they can just outplay you, and that's what they did, especially in that second period where they got the two quick goals, and then of course they got the third goal in the power play beginning of the third period to kind of put the icing on the cake. But that's, they're like, we're going to just kind of make it a little sloppy here. We know how everything needs to be like, we know with the Sharks, right? Everything needs to be kind of not pristine, but a lot of things have to go right for the Sharks to kind of generate offense. And they did a good job of that in the first period. And the Bruins did a good job of adjusting to it and kind of making it muddy and making it hard for the Sharks to play a consistent game. And that's, the Bruins are a very good team this year. I know they're on a terrible 3-game losing streak, but that's kind of what they did. So some of the kind of people, I think it's really hard to point to any one player who I thought had, other than Mackenzie Blackwood, who I thought had a good night. I think a lot of people kind of struggled tonight. And you wonder with Hertl kind of coming in last minute, didn't practice today or wasn't at morning skate. And I wonder if that kind of maybe put things in a little bit of a flux. Again, I know it really only affects two lines with the Hertl, Eklund, Hoffman line, and then getting, Kevin LeBanc out of the fourth line, kind of moving guys around there. But like, again, it's just this team just hasn't been able to kind of establish a lot of chemistry because of, one, so many injuries that they're dealing with, and two, just so many new faces. We've seen how good the home, when we get to the splits here in a second, this team is a much better team at home than on the road, but they're going to need to kind of start to kind of figure something out because, like I said, the stats are pretty appalling when it comes to, or it's mind-boggling just how different this team is on the road. I will say the teal buckets with the white sweaters, I liked them. I hope I still like the white on white too. I think it's a very clean look, but I don't mind the teal buckets on the white with the white road jerseys too. I think it's a fun look, and I think with the right has to be the right combination. I think the Bruins very kind of dark color like that. I think it works really well with the two of them. So, but that was fun to see. Good to see Hertl back. So I assume Hertl is kind of good to go and should be, back in the lineup and on normal, and we should get normal lines from here on out. And hopefully start to see some people starting to come back here soon. So before we kind of dig into the splits of the home road stuff, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about the lines for this game, and then checking on Bordeleau and Gushchin, we'll just do all that here in 1 second. Right now, you can snap into the action with FanDuel. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. It's $150 if your team wins. So if you're thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get on the action. The app is super easy to use, wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Christian McCaffrey, anytime touchdown. Just keep doing that. Keep taking the Sharks under on the road games here. Those are just my two things because, again, the Sharks cannot score goals on the road. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, so before, I know normally we kind of dig into the stats. This game was not very pretty. So I want to talk about some of the splits between the home and the road. Sharks team has played 10 games on the road. They're 0-10-0. Don't even have a single point. No overtime, nothing. Just 10 straight losses on the road. They've scored six goals in 10 games on the road. They've given up 42 goals so they have a minus 36 goal differential at home. The next worst team, on the road, minus 36 goal differential on the road. The next worst team is the Chicago Blackhawks, who are at minus 17. So the Sharks are double. Not a math guy, but I know that one. The Sharks are twice as bad as the Blackhawks, at least when it comes to goal differential. The goals for, again, 6. The Ottawa Senators, who have played a whopping 4 games on the road, have 16. Woof. The power play on the road, 8%. They've scored 2 goals. But they've also given up 2 shorthanded goals. So their net power play, or their adjusted power play, so that's your power play percentage minus your shorthanded goals, or power play goals minus your shorthanded goals divided by your power play opportunities. There is 0. So in 25 attempts, they have a net. They have 2 goals, and they've given up 2 shorthanded goals. These are fun. Penalty kill has been okay. 74.3%, which is kind of around where they're at. They have 200. They're getting outshot by 122 shots, which is, again, the Coyotes are the second worst team, and they're at minus 76. These Sharks are at 122. My goodness. These are insane. Yeah, it's been brutal on the road. So just put in perspective the home split. So in the home, they're in 13 games at home, they're 5-6-2. They have 12 points, which is just like 16th in the NHL among home teams. So the tank is like been good to the Sharks. Remember, the Sharks won 8 games at home last year combined, like the entire season. They've already won 5 this year. Goal differential, a little bit better. 30-51, minus 21. And again, that's also including 2 games where you gave up 10 goals in there. So that kind of inflates it a little bit. But they're scoring more goals at home. Their goals for at home is like a little bit more respectable. It's at 2.31. Again, not the worst. Capitals are the worst there, but a little bit more respect. You're in the like Sabres, Islanders, Ducks territory, right? And at least for goals for. The power play has been better. The power play is much better at home. They've gotten 10 power play goals on 41 opportunities at 24.4%, and have only given 1 shorthanded. So, again, you can kind of see just how different this team is on the road. So it's something that they're going to have to work on. And this now 5 games left on the road trip. Again, we don't expect the Sharks to win a lot of games, and for the good of the franchise, they should continue to lose a lot of games. But can we see improvement, right? Can you go from six goals? Can we get a game where they score at least 2 goals in a game? That'd be a big win at this point, because you haven't even done that this season. So let's quickly look at the numbers. We probably won't really dive into the forwards, but the lines as much, because it was kind of a hot mess. So 44 minutes of 5v5 time. The shot attempts were relatively close, 46 to 41. But that second period is where you really saw the Bruins kind of, take it to another gear. And they had 20 shot attempts to the 6 for the Sharks. And I know there was a lot of weird stuff with, you had 4-on-4 time, multiple 4-on-4 times. You had a lot of penalties, especially at the end of the game. But 5v5, that's where the Bruins really kind of took it to the Sharks there. Actual shots for it at 5v5 is 22 to 29. Scoring chances 17 to 26. Both these in favor of the Bruins. 10 to 14 high danger chances. And then the Corsi for percentage was 52.87 to 47.13 in favor of the Bruins. And then 2.17 to 1.74 expected goals. Also in favor of the Bruins. So the 4 lines were a little bit of a mess. The Zetterlund, Granlund, Duclair line, I will say, though, might have a little bit something there. So 7-16 time on ice, 12 to 12 shot attempts, 7 to 7 actual shots on goal, 0.71 to 0.89 expected goals, 8 to 8 scoring chances, 5 to 5. Zach, that line was pretty solid, but everybody else really, really didn't do much. The Eklund, Hertl, Hoffman line played 6-15 at 5v5. They had 4 to 5 shot attempts, 2 to 4 actual shots, gave up 2 goals. Expected goals for was 0.6 to 0.22. So just kind of a tough night for them all along. So we'll check in on our dude, Mackenzie Blackwood. 36 shots, attempts, 33 saves, goals against 3. Expected goals against was 2.97. So what you'd expect from him. 11 high danger shots, 9 high danger saves, 10 to 10 mid danger, and then low danger was 12 to 13 for his work tonight. So overall, again, it's hard, I think, to take a lot out of this game, just because of, 1, the nature of the game, and 2, just how good the Bruins are. And they just kind of they let the Sharks hang around in the first period, but then after that, it just was them. Just they did enough to win, just kind of like what we saw in the first time these two teams played. Right, the Bruins got out in front of a lead, they parked the bus basically, and we're like, we know with our goaltenders, we know you're not going to be able to do anything in this game, and that's exactly what they did. Because even though the Sharks kind of caught up with shot attempts and stuff in the third period, it's just, we know the Sharks team is just not capable of scoring 3 goals in that short of a period of time, and especially against Swayman, who's really good at hockey. So I think he's 100 starts. He's got like 10% of his starts, I think, are shutouts. Like, that's pretty ridiculous. So yeah, so Sharks are back at it tomorrow, Friday night, against the Devils. So we'll see. It's gonna be a pretty emotional game, I think, especially with the short history these two teams kind of have with each other. Potentially Timo Meier, Fabian Zetterlund's return, Mackenzie Blackwood's return. Please do not play Mackenzie Blackwood. There was David Quinn did say he's thinking about playing Mackenzie Blackwood against the Devils, and I would not do that. Personally, I would rather play Mackenzie Blackwood against the Rangers, who are a much better team, and it's your best goalie. Give him some rest, right? This is running Mackenzie Blackwood into the ground right now is not the ideal situation. So please play Kaapo Kähkönen on Friday night. So, and then play Mackenzie Blackwood on Sunday against the Rangers. So, all right, let's get ready to check in here on Tomas Bordeleau and Danil Gushchin in 1 second. A new NHL season brings you all sorts of possibilities. The Sharks could maybe score 50 goals, definitely not on the road. They could definitely win the draft lottery, and you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you got to do is just pick either your favorite superstars or just your favorite players. So if you want to root for guys like McDavid, Ovechkin, and Crosby or McKinnon, or Hertl, Slippery Pete, Mike Hoffman, whoever you want to root for, all you got to do is record more or less of their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player sets. You heard me, Sharks fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. All right. Gushchin and Bordeleau and Gushchin. So Gushchin, both these guys have kind of, gotten some NHL time. I know Bordeleau has gotten a little bit more at the beginning of the season before getting sent back. And then Gushchin got a little bit of a run in the, I don't want to say the middle, but in this middle of what we've played so far and then sent back. And both have, definitely needed to work on some things. And I think for both of them, it's consistency, right? And I think for especially being smaller players, like how do you deal with the NHL size and speed and skill? And that's something that these guys are going to have to continue to work on. But you're seeing a lot of positive signs. Let's start with Bordeleau, who has, this season they have basically moved Bordeleau from center to wing, right? And realizing, especially with the way the Sharks have drafted and or going to be drafting here soon, Phil B said, right, you have Will Smith, fingers crossed, Mac Celebrini. Realistically, there's not much of an opportunity for Bordeleau to play center in the Sharks organization, and it's not like he can't transition back to center at any time, right? Or you still can't use him for faceoffs or whatever, but they have been transitioning him to wing. And I think now that maybe that he's kind of accepted the reality of, I think a lot of players want to play center. You talk to, talking like Tristan Robbins and stuff, like they like to play center because I think they feel more engaged. Maybe things run through them a little bit more, but I think now that Bordeleau's maybe kind of realized and kind of accepted the reality of, for me to be an NHL player, I'm probably going to have to play the wing. You can really start to see where he's taking the coaching and what is being, asked of him and kind of putting it to good to use, right? And putting it out there. And I think Bordeleau has really started to play some of his best hockey since, I would say, the beginning of last year, when he came out of the gate, like a house on fire for the Barracuda and then slowed down. You can see, I think the effort level is way up there right now. And I know Bordeleau can sometimes, be a little bit, maybe standing around a little bit or, maybe not the best effort, but I think you're really seeing Bordeleau putting in a lot of effort. And I think it's really starting to kind of show, especially with, the production's always been there, but we're getting into the Bordeleau hype train area again, just with the way he has been scoring goals and helping his teammates score goals. And that's good, right? Because that's what you're expecting from Bordeleau, right? Bordeleau is not going to be a shutdown defensive player. That's not his role. So in 10 games so far, Bordeleau has 5 goals, 5 assists. So he's a point per game player so far for the Barracuda this year, which is the only person better would be Ryan Carpenter in his 6 points in 5 games. So that's what you're seeing it. But it's also, I think, on the defensive effort, you're seeing him again. Bordeleau is never going to be a shutdown, Selke winning type of forward. but you don't, that's fine, right? You're not trying to shove a square peg into a round hole with Bordeleau. We know we want Bordeleau to use his creativity. We want him to, with his passing, trying to help, open his teammates up, like make life easier for his teammates, and just try defensively. Can you back check? Can you at least just try? And I think that's what you're seeing from Bordeleau right now is that effort, because I think he knows like there's going to be opportunities for him soon with the Sharks. As I think he's going to need to get a long extended look at some point. And he needs to kind of develop these good habits now. That way they can continue to stick, especially when you're playing on the NHL, where one of these bad habits can all of a sudden, boom, it's a puck in the net the other way. And especially in a contract year, I know he's an RFA, and I don't expect Bordeleau to not be in San Jose next year. But again, right, you want to start building up and starting to make your case that why he should be a lock to be in the NHL next year instead of a fighting for a position type of player. So, but you have to be, I think what we're seeing out of Bordeleau, I think things are starting to come together for him. I don't think the Sharks should pull him up right now. I think you should let him continue to build and create these good habits going forward. Again, can you back check? Can you at least try on defense? And do you make your line mates better? That's what kind of the to-do list for Bordeleau right now. And he's hitting those right now, and let's let him continue to kind of develop those habits. As for Gushchin, right, I think a little bit of the confidence maybe took a little bit of a hit as when he first got back, but you're starting to see the Daniel Gushchin that we all know and love right now, with another goal on Wednesday night, excuse me. And that was a big win for the Barracuda, but we know that shot is an absolute thing of beauty. Now can we see Gushchin dominate, like be the Daniel Gushchin? We started to see some glimpses this year before he got called up. Can we see like 2 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks where Daniel Gushchin is just like a man on fire? Like anytime he touches the ice, you are just burning things down. That's what we want to see from Gushchin now. His big thing, of course, is going to be just getting stronger and stuff. That's not going to happen overnight, right? That's going to be throughout the year and a really good off season for him. But again, kind of like how Eklund did last year, right? Can you lay the foundation so that way you are an everyday NHL player? And we saw Eklund kind of start to have those strings of games together. Can we see that from Gushchin, where you're just burning, just be the best player on the team for, and just have those like where I have to talk about Gushchin on a weekly basis or, every other day because of just how insane he's going in the AHL. That's who, it's a lot to ask for, but I believe in Daniel Gushchin. I think he's that special of a player. And I think I think we're going to see a string of like 2 weeks where Daniel Gushchin is just like maybe like leading the show type of good, just because of how insane Gushchin's doing. So that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back next week, of course. Devils Rangers recaps on Monday. We have a prospect interview planned, so that's going to be coming up sometime soon. Probably do some more, of course. The prospect brief, where we'll be checking in on the Sharks prospects and watching some of their recent games and seeing how they're doing. If you haven't checked out yesterday, I did Will Smith, Quentin Musty, and Jake Furlong's recent games. So I think I'm gonna go to the prospect reef. I don't know. I like the prospect reef, so I think that's where we're gonna stay on that name. So if you haven't, go check out that game or that episode. Plenty of good stuff coming. Draft coverage is coming soon, guys. We're probably before Christmas going to be kicking off draft coverage because yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for I'm getting itchy for the draft. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts, and of course you can watch on YouTube as well. When you're done checking out this show, make sure you guys go head over to the Locked On Sports Today streaming channel, because they've got you covered now 24/7, covering the top sports stories on the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows coverage from every league, Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Make sure you're following the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Till next time, bye, friends.